Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep on the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host today, Jacob McCourt, and I have 4 friends with me. I think this is the first time we've ever had 5 folks on a pod. The first 2 are our normal co-hosts. Let's start with the sneaker savant, Joseph Hooper. Hello.
What's up? I'm a little bit under the weather, so my voice sounds like I'm a grizzly veteran of some combat war zone, but I'm not. I'm a soft little boy here to talk about
You're an
indie
game soldier, I guess.
Indie game soldier, very very relevant with our current times, fellow
Yeep.
enemy, I guess.
Yeah, hey, for context, I'm Canadian. Joseph is American, and so is our third friend, Luke Lewis. Hello.
Hello.
For the record, Luke is not Canadian.
Luke is not Canadian. I wish he was.
Canadian. No. I feel like honorary Canadian at this point. We've done enough podcasts together.
Yeah, PNW is close enough to Canada that I think like you guys are both sort of honorary Canadians. So
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's move on to our 4th and 5th guests. We have an extra special duo today from the No Small Games podcast. It's Emily Merritt and Kate Hunter. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Do we have to state our citizenship? Is that part of the intro
Yeah,
now?
I guess you must.
Yeah. Both U.S. citizens.
Yes, I live on the East Coast.
In case anybody's wondering.
Love. We've got a gaggle of Americans. Do you call them gaggles? I don't know. But here we're talking about a gaggle of indie games. We are going to run through our 20 most anticipated indie releases that are coming in 2025. If you want more episodes like this one, we have an episode in 2024 that covered a lot of cool indie games, most of which are out. You can check that out with friend of the show, Joe Grote. But we are going to cover 20 titles that we are the most excited about this year. But before we do that, I'd like to throw our icebreaker to our friends from the No Small Games podcast first and ask a question. What is the best indie game that you've played since the holidays? And I'd love that quick review style. Kate, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure, yeah, I'm ready to go. So this is actually a game that Emily gifted me randomly a week ago, I want to say. It's called Incredibox by So Far So Good, and it's a music game that lets you create your own tracks with exclusively beatboxers. So like the acapella kids, the theater kids, they're going to love this one. And you basically can download your own mixes and creations and share them with anybody. And the beatboxers kind of have this variety of like tones, and there's also a mute button. So like, you know, you can bring in your bass and then you can bring in your high end, and then maybe you want like a little like wow wow wow, oh, you could bring that in too. And then so yeah, the game kind of makes you feel like a musical genius because the beatboxers are all designed to sound good together, and they do all the timing for you, so you don't have to figure out like, okay, when do I bring this guy in? Like, it's just super easy to get going. It's super fun. So thank you so much, Emily, for my new passion. I love this game. Incredibox. Awesome. Yeah, it's
Can
cool.
you play it on web too? Is it in addition to an app? You can play it on the internet, on the website?
That's a great question. So she just gifted it to me on Steam, so I've just been playing on my Steam Deck, rocking on the deck.
Cool, very cool. And it's a daily deal when we're recording this, so you can get this for just a couple of bucks, but normally it's like $5. That's cool.
It's really fun.
That's Incredibox from So Far So Good. Emily, you're up next.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you asked this question because before I even knew this was the icebreaker, I was thinking to myself, man, how can I find a way to talk about Arctic eggs on this recording?
Let's go.
And this is actually a game that Kate gifted to me as well. Kate really nailed it on the Christmas gifts. So Arctic eggs, if you have never seen this, this is a really hard game to describe. It is my favorite brand of absurdism. This is primarily like a cooking sim, a physics-based cooking sim. You're going around, you are cooking eggs in a skillet in the Arctic, hence the name. There's not even a fire. I think the friction between the eggs and other things in the skillet is what creates the heat to cook them. And then you have to use the little flick of the wrist to flip everything. And you go around, you cook for folks at this compound, ? And they just have the most bizarre, unhinged things to say to you. And I just love this. They really toe the line. I think absurdism is very hard to do right without like being so out there, so kind of disconnected from everything that you kind of lose your audience. They stop feeling grounded in what they're doing, or you like run into this kind of edgelord territory where it's like, see how weird I'm being. They do it really well, where it's just somehow it feels cohesive, while being extremely bizarre and surprising. And I'm just really sad I didn't play this before January, because I think it would have made it into my top 10 games of 2024 list. I
Whoa.
love this game.
Are you good at it? Because I also tried it, and it's very like quappy, and I was not good at it at all.
I got into a flow eventually. I think I got into a flow state with it, but they really throw a lot of stuff at you, and I won't even say what, because I think anybody who's interested in this should just go play the game. But you wind up with a lot of things that aren't eggs in your frying pan too, and they up the challenge a lot.
I think cigarettes and bullets are in the trailer, so maybe just say that.
Yeah.
But there's more stuff too.
There's a lot of stuff.
Well, that one is Arctic Eggs, and that one's published by Critical Reflex. What a portfolio they had in 2024 between Threshold, Mouthwashing, Buckshot Roulette, and that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, hella good. Hella good.
Stacked.
Stacked like the eggs in your pan. Luke, you're up next, sir.
Yeah, so I traditionally use January as kind of a catch-up month, either playing stuff from the previous year, or in the case of my pick, I had never played the first Citizen Sleeper, so to prepare for the second one, I played through the first one in its entirety and absolutely loved it. For folks that aren't familiar, it's a narrative-driven, a tabletop role-playing style game where you're in this dystopian sci-fi world, trying to survive. The story's awesome, the music is incredible, really cool visual style, and as of this recording, the sequel just came out this past week, so it's a great time to jump in. I played it on Game Pass, so very low barrier to entry, but really enjoyed it. Was definitely one that was like, oh wow, I should have played this years ago. Everyone was right. Joseph, you were right.
Joseph was right.
Addendum to our Game of the Year podcast from 2022, I think.
He pushed for it to be at number 10, and it made it to number 10. So thank you, Joseph.
Yeah,
for
it
doing
should have
that.
been higher. It should have been higher.
Should have
but,
been
you
higher.
know,
Did my
retrospective.
job.
Yeah, and if
But
you're
very
curious
good
about
game.
the sequel, you can check out the last episode of this show, where myself and Adam Gumbert, we talked about the game in its entirety. I loved it, so that's a great pick. The first game, Luke. Joseph, you're up now.
Yeah, I haven't played anything since I beat Nine Souls, and I mean Nine Souls is just a beautiful, beautiful game. Man, the last boss fight of Nine Souls is probably one of my favorite boss fights. Period. It was wild. It was a wild ride. Since then, I've been playing. Is Hitman 3 an indie game? Is IO Interactive technically an independent studio?
I think that falls into the weird, hey, is Baldur's Gate 3 an indie game category?
I'm just saying. I've been playing Hitman 3, and it's a great time. And if you don't consider that an indie game, then go play Nine Souls, but also play Hitman 3 because it's fun.
Nice.
Cool.
Respect.
I will finish out. I've been playing Home Safety Hotline. That is a 2.5 hour little game where you play as a hotline operator, where people calling have paranormal household hazards that you have to identify.
Whoa.
So it's very much like if you like old OSs, if you like which one of kind of like Her Story, those like old computer systems, if that's your vibe, and getting phone calls from people who have very weird stuff happening in their homes. It's like 3 hours long. It came out in January of 24, and if folks already have it and already played it, they're like, Jacob, that's old hat. There was DLC that came out late last year for it that you can add on called a Seasonal Worker that just came out like late last year. So Home Safety Hotline from Night Signal Entertainment. What we're going to be doing on this show is including links to everything that we'll talk about, including these icebreaker titles. So if there's anything you're interested in, you can find those in the description. That's a great roundup of games, y'all. We've got an even cooler one coming as we go through our list of 20 most anticipated titles coming out on the indie front in 2025. I think what I must do is start with our friends from No Small Games. So, Emily, why don't you start out this time with the first pick on your list, Heartworm. Tell us about that one.
Yes, I would love to. So, I'm so sorry. Heartworm is in development by Vincent Adinolfi. So we've got a solo developer. It's being published by JetXP. This is following up this wave that we've had in 2024 of this kind of retro PS1, PS2 era survival horror games, which I've been loving. I think we got some really phenomenal titles last year, and I think this is going to be a huge follow-up to that. Heartworm describes itself on its Steam page as classic survival horror with modern improvements. And based on the demo that was featured in Steam Next Fest in October, I think they do that really, really well. So you have options between this classic tank control, if you are, a PS1, PS2 era player and you're familiar with that, but you also have this modern over-the-shoulder aiming control option. As somebody who was not a PS1 girly, because I grew up with Nintendo systems, I appreciate the option to kind of experience it from that modern perspective. But there's a lot of stuff that's really classic and iconic to the retro vibe, kind of baked in that you are going to get no matter what. So you've got fixed camera angles, you've got your classic door opening animation. So a lot of really fun nostalgia baked in there. I also think it's really fun as an alternative to giving the main character a gun. She wields a camera. So it's a fun kind of like less violent vibe. I guess it's still a horror game. But a lot of the mechanics are still there. They're just reskinned to the new weapons. So you pick up film rolls instead of ammo. You upgrade your camera so it can burst shoot, and I'm sure there are a bunch of other upgrades you get eventually too. So I think it's a really fun twist on this survival horror experience. And from the trailer, we're going to have lots of fun, like puzzling, some cool survival or horror puzzle experiences. They've got a chessboard puzzle. They've got a grandfather clock puzzle. I'm going to riot if there's no piano puzzle. It's going to be real fun. I'm super stoked.
Somehow it looks like they've smashed together Silent Hill and Fatal Frame in that PS1 style, and I'm mad excited just looking at it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the low poly. You have cone boobs. I hope I'm allowed to say that.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a good set of cone boobs? So the low poly graphics are gonna be really fun.
Anyone else excited for Heartworm?
I'm super excited. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
I was just gonna say we got to play the Heartworm demo at PAX East last year, so I feel like that's where we got super hyped for it. We like Dread XP a lot.
Mm-hmm. They've for folks who maybe aren't familiar with Dread XP's library, I definitely played what was the Sesame Street, My Friendly Neighborhood, and like that one.
Yeah.
But anything else that you guys can remember from Dread?
Was I Doesn't Exist the text-based adventure? From
yes,
them.
It was.
Claire got
yes, it
my
was.
partner Claire got really into that one. If you're in for a trippy experience, that one's pretty cool as well.
Mm-hmm. Mortuary Assistant.
Amanda the Adventurer is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a sequel to that one coming, or that came out late last year too.
Amanda?
So, Amanda the Adventurer 2, yes.
No way.
Yeah way.
Yeah
way.
Yeah way.
Yeah way. All right, that one was Heartworm, being published by Dread XP. Kate, let's go to you. Let's talk about Constance.
Yeah, so for context, I have basically I fell in love with gaming around 2021, so I kind of started with visual novels, farming sims, Animal Crossing, and now I'm in my discovering that I really love platformers era, but I find a lot of them to be not super approachable, I guess, but I love the feeling so much of platforming. So Constance is a really great fit for me, and I got to play the demo, I think, over the summer, and that was when I really fell in love with it. But basically, it's this 2D hand-drawn action-adventure game with, your main character, Constance. She has purple hair, and she kind of wields a paintbrush as her weapon, which I think is really iconic. I love a female protagonist, obviously. But the inner world of this game, it's kind of got that same visual art style as, I guess, Hollow Knight is kind of what it reminded me of. But the game is, I guess, the inner world of the game is supposed to represent Constance's mental health and kind of her struggles. So although there's brightness in this world and there's amazing characters and paint and colors, there's also sort of this darkness that's taking over. Which I found interesting, and they don't really tell you much about that in the demo, so I'm kind of just hooked to see like what's going on with her. That's kind of why I want to play the full game. But yeah, the demo's super smooth. It got me totally hooked, and the combat just feels really great. And the moves you kind of unlock along the way are just like really smooth. And since you have that paintbrush weapon, you're sort of just like gliding a lot. Like the platforming is very glidey, kind of like a paintbrush on a canvas. So yeah, this one just had me hooked. So I'm really stoked for it. And it's coming out Q5 or Q4 2025. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
And that one, I don't know if you played Biomorph last year, but it has that same sort of like movement where Constance appears to like turn into liquid, and then it helps her
Yes.
move up along walls and on the floor.
Yeah.
Is that something that was like? There is a demo on this one. You did say you played the demo. How was the movement in it?
It was so smooth, and that's exactly right, because she like turns into paint, like liquid paint, and the visuals of the paint style are just so spot on. And yeah, she just seems like there's so much going on there. I just want to know if she's okay, and I want to see her story and her adventure. So to have that like narrative, have me really interested in the narrative, but also have such smooth platforming and flow, I think that's a really good combo. So I'm stoked.
That one again was Constance by BTF. And again, if you skip the icebreaker to get right to the 2025 games, we're including links to all of these in the description of this video or this podcast if you're listening on audio services. Let's move on. Let's throw it over to Luke. Tell me about Bionic Bay, Luke.
Yeah, so Bionic Bay is a really cool looking puzzle platformer. It's super atmospheric. The art style is really, really awesome. It reminds me of Limbo in some ways, but then also more colorful stuff like Ori and the Blind Forest as well. It does the thing in a platforming game that I'm a sucker for, where it's like it plays with like scale and perspective, like you're a little guy in this like very large space. But yeah, I'm excited just for some cool puzzles, some really interesting art styles. Similar to you, Kate, I love a good platformer. This one specifically has kind of a science fiction element to the narrative that sounds pretty interesting, where there's teleportation involved. So it kind of reminds me, if anybody played, I think it was back on the PS3 and Vita, this is a deep cut, but Swapper. If you ever played the Swapper, it was like
Is that the little spaceman?
It was like a little spaceman, and you're like cloning yourself to solve puzzles and then moving through different environments. But aesthetically and just like story wise, it looks like Bionic Bay quite a bit. But yeah, I'm really excited. This one, it's coming out on March 13th, has a date. It's from the developer is called Psychoflow Studios and Marina Oi, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Apologies.
This might be their first
incorrect.
game too.
Yeah. It's published by Kepler Interactive, and I feel like they've been on a recent tear the last few years with some really cool, unique projects. They're one now that when I see the name, I'm like, definitely want to check it out. So it's been on my radar for a while.
Yeah, for those folks, Kepler did Pacific Drive, and they also did
Ultros.
What was the Metroid? Yeah, that's it. Yep.
What was last year was a cool one.
Yeah, I think that was Haddock and Kepler. So good pull. Good pull. This one looks rad. Again, we're going to include all the links. This one's Bionic Bay by Psychoflow Studios. Joseph, you're up next, my friend, with Morsels, a Canadian dev. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am talking about Morsels. I think it was originally unveiled at a Nintendo Direct, if I'm correct. I might be wrong there, but needless to say, this game is super weird looking, which is always right up my alley. It is also a roguelite, which is like, one of my top 3 game genres. And from what I can tell, and honestly, I'll just read you the description because this will tell you everything you need to know. Overcome a clique of killer cats as you fight your way out of the sewers in this unique action-packed journey. Now, what I'll tell you is when I watched the trailer, I didn't get any of that because it was just so nonsensical what was happening on screen. And that's what I love. I want to boot this game up and I want to be surprised every 5 minutes. And it looks like this game is ready to deliver that. If you go to maybe 13 seconds in the trailer, you'll see that the character transforms into a little poop and is running around. I don't know what that's about. And I don't want anybody to tell me what it's about. I want to find out for myself. So there's always like one of those weird what's going on type games every year that, can make or break the indie scene. All right. Last year, Animal Well. I was like, what's going on with this game? Turns out a lot of great things. Morsels? Why are we turning into poops? What's going on with these killer cats? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm excited though. This could be, stop me here. This could be top 10 material based off of the weirdness in the roguelite. We'll see. We'll see.
The music is so good in the trailer too. I think the music's gonna hit.
It's got style. I mean, the music is good. The art style is very interesting. The color palette is very interesting. So I'm very excited about what they got going on here. And for the record, it's by Fracula. Is that how I would say that? Fracula for
Sure.
Okay. All right. We're going with Fracula, everybody.
I didn't realize Annapurna was publishing that one. That's awesome.
Are they anymore? Like, who's to say? It's kind of like Schrodinger's cat with Annapurna.
Still listed on the Steam page, so we'll go with that.
Yep. Okay. All right.
For some reason, it reminds me of if you smash together Animal Well and like Garbage Pail Kids. If you guys remember Garbage Pail Kids,
Yeah.
I do remember those.
Yeah,
no, we got it.
Okay.
I'm 32, so.
Okay. Garbage Patch Kids. We know Garbage Patch Kids.
Yeah,
love,
we know.
Love. Again, that one's Morsels by Fracula. Fracula.
Okay, we're changing the pronunciation. Okay.
We're changing it on the fly. I'll go next. I want to talk about Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping by Happy Broccoli Games. I played the first one last year. It didn't make my list, but it was one of my favorite games. It is very much like a Golden Idol Junior. If you take like the concept of Mad Libs and like a very basic small scope adventure game with really great writing and really great voice acting, and we're just gonna get more of that. If I said this when it came out, if they made me a Duck Detective game every 12 to 18 months, I would happily put my money down and give them $10 to $15 every single year. I loved it. I think there's at least one person on this call that also played it. For my homies who are Duck Detective fans, who else is excited?
So excited.
There you go.
I'm so
Haven't played the first one yet, but still excited. It's definitely my thing. It's in the backlog for sure.
I don't remember if when they announced it, if it had the like secret of the
Secret
salami.
Secret salami. Yeah.
But as soon as I found out that it had that addendum to it, I was like, "Oh, this is a series. We're getting a series." I really didn't think that we would get one so soon after the first. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I was also shocked in that respect. And then the voice cast, having Brian David Gilbert be Freddie Frederson was definitely one of the highlights for me. But everyone, Sean Chiplock, who did Duck Detective, was great. Everyone was great. So just give me more of that in another story. I'm good to go. Mad excited for that one. Again, that's Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping by Happy Broccoli Games. Let's maybe mix up the order here. Kate, why don't you go next and tell us about Keep Driving?
Yes, Keep Driving.
Keep everybody on your toes.
I'm ready. I'm locked in. I actually played the Keep Driving demo, and this game's coming out in a couple days. It comes out on February 6th, I believe. I hope I'm not wrong there. But this is by CYJY Games. This is a road trip RPG, which something that I'm obsessed with when games do is when they make like a very everyday mundane experience into like something beautiful and magical, like a car ride or a road trip. So the vibes are very immaculate, and it's pixel art. It's very stylized, and you can kind of like customize and repair your car as you road trip across the country. And I love a road trip. I've driven from Utah to Maine, like I want to say 5 times, because I'm from Utah, but I live in Maine. So it's just bringing that like road trip nostalgia. And there's even a CD player in the car that like has actual songs by indie rock bands, which I also love indie rock music. So you can do things in this game like stop in a gas station, and you can pick up hitchhikers. And when you get things in the gas station or pick up a hitchhiker, that can kind of give you opportunity to gain power-ups during your turn-based combat, because you're going to encounter literal roadblocks that you will battle. So there'd be like a giant tractor or like a herd of sheep crossing the road, and then you like go into combat with that roadblock. So I was just super sucked into this demo when I played it. I got really, really invested. You can also choose between like a sedan or a truck, which I think is really charming. So yeah, I'm this is gonna be a purchase at launch day for me, and maybe I'll even leave work early and play a couple hours. So I'm really stoked for it.
I love that. Yeah, it looks rad. There is a demo of this one if you're curious. The game does come out. By the time you're hearing this, it will be out. Luke?
Oh, I was just gonna jump in and say I was really excited when I saw this on your list, Kate, because I was going to put it on my list, but I saw it represented, so I was like, "We're good, we got it covered." But I didn't realize it was coming out so soon. But I loved the demo as well, and the music and just the whole vibe was
The vibe,
really
right?
neat. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
I'm
immediately hooked me. I
stoked.
was like, as soon as we got in the car and the music kicked in, I was like, "Oh, let's go!" It was like kind of like not the same in terms of like structure, but in terms of tone, Guardians of the Galaxy, like the opening
Mm.
of Guardians of the Galaxy, of like I was immediately sucked in. So
It's immersive. Like you
yeah,
really feel like, okay, I'm about to go on a road trip. It's awesome.
Did you play Overland, Kate?
No,
Okay,
I don't
that
even
one's
know what
from
it is. I'd love
Finji.
to know.
So it's from Finji. So we have a Finji game on this list coming up very soon, but I believe published by them, and it is a tactical sort of RPG, but also you traverse the U.S. in a car with your dog and other like zombie apocalypse survivors, and it's very like you enter this area, you do some tactics, you hopefully survive, gather resources, and make your way further. Vibe and the way it's animated very different.
Mm,
But this game looks super rad.
I'm in. I'll add it to the wish list.
There it
Wish list
is.
has expanded so much already just by reading everyone's notes. So thanks everybody.
I feel like I have to go to Emily next because I mentioned Finji, and I might have done that for that was random, and I didn't plan that. But we're talking about another Finji game that's coming out. This is Usual June.
Hell yeah. Finchie's very interesting. Anyway, yeah, so Usual June. This is another game that I played the demo of in October's Steam Next Fest. This is a third-person action adventure game where you play as June, who is I think she's a high schooler, maybe college student, who can see and interact with the ghosts. And she and her friends wind up investigating a dark secret in their little small town, their sleepy little town. It's giving Nancy Drew meets Scooby Doo meets Ghostbusters meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer in like the best way possible. I was extremely impressed by the demo too. In particular, the combat was just super, super polished, especially considering it was in like a pre-alpha state. And you could tell it was early in development from like where they were at with graphics and everything, which were beautiful. But I was just really impressed that the combat was already just so approachable. I felt like I was able to go from 0 to 60 in terms of picking up controls, and it felt great to play. You wind up traveling to some kind of ghost dimension. You're fighting these huge monsters that are trying to like end the world. It's a little epic. It's also a little like small town mystery vibes. I love a like there's something amiss in this small town trope. So I'm really hoping that we get an interesting story. I really think that we're getting some compelling characters. June in particular seems really cool and interesting and funny. I'm hoping we also get maybe some puzzling in addition to the combat. But it was such a great demo, and I think about it all the time, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. So yeah.
This one was at PAX West as
Mm.
well. Did anybody? I know that did you guys play it? Luke, you played it at PAX West.
yeah, I really liked it as well. It almost reminded me of a mashup of maybe like a Devil May Cry or Hi-Fi Rush in terms of combat meets Life is Strange in terms of
Mm. Mhm.
young adult coming of age cool. And I'm gonna my catchphrase is good vibes, but it's definitely cool good vibes. But yeah, I'm super excited for that one, and the fact that it's internally developed at Finji also has me really excited because it's been a minute since
Yeah.
they put out a game internally. So
And correct me if I'm wrong. If I might have forgotten this, but does it have like sort of an endearing like low frame rate thing going on where like it deliberately looks like the frame it's a little framey and it's artistic and looks great?
It that was the experience that I had in the demo. whether that's intentional or just, I mean, due to the phase and development they were in. I wasn't sure. Either way, I found it charming.
It looked like Hi-Fi Rush
I
in that way,
think
and I
it's
was like, rad.
intentional. Yeah, I remember chatting with one of the devs when I was waiting in line to play it at PAX, and I think they mentioned kind of that Spider-Verse vibe where it's like not quite hitched animation, but like stylized look to it.
Yeah, it's like at 55 frames when it should be at 60, and it's deliberate kind of vibe. I'm not technical in any way. Again, that was Usual June by Finji. Let's go over to my friend Luke. Luke, tell me about Clam Man 2. I know you've talked about Clam Man 2 on this show before, but
I'll talk about
bring it
Clam
back.
Man anytime. I'm a Clam Man stan, some might say. This game's so weird, and I'm just so here for it. Coming off of games last year, like Thank Goodness You're Here, I'm just like hungry for good comedy in games, and Clam Man 2 Headliner is bringing it in every sense. This is an adventure game. Base premise, think Office Space, but you're playing as anthropomorphic animals, and you're having these dialogue conversations with characters, trying to get out of essentially doing your boring 9-to-5 office job. And then amidst the early parts of the demo, you discover that there is a comedy club in the basement of the office building you're working in, and then your character starts to perform stand-up comedy at this venue, and you have like dialogue options where you're trying to be funny and like gain notoriety in the comedy club. You're solving these ridiculous puzzles, you're having crazy interactions with your coworkers. It's zany, it's weird, it's super fun. I haven't had a chance to play the first one, but I've been wanting to go back to it since I played the demo at PAX a couple years ago for Clam Man 2. And then you can currently play Clam Man 2 Open Mic is the prologue to the game that's already out, so folks can check that out. But Clam Man 2, fingers crossed it's coming out this year. But it's really, really funny, and highly recommend folks keep an eye on it.
If it gets folks more interested, I can share some of the games that come up as more like it on Steam. Disco Elysium, Tales from the Borderlands, Ace Attorney Trilogy, Strange Horticulture, just as a few examples. So look, if that's a vibe, then we should play Clam Man 2. That is Clam Man 2. That is the second or third time you brought it up on the show, Luke. I feel like we're going to need a review when it comes out.
I will say, I actually recognized it. One of my friends has a voice acting part in it, so I also really hope this comes out this year. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're gonna be famous. This one's taken off, I'm telling y'all.
I didn't know about it actually, so I'm glad that you put on your list because I totally want to play. I'm sold.
There's also like, just to jump into it for one more second, there's like wild character classes that are like hilarious and buff your playthrough in weird, unconventional ways. It's just very creative, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Would you say it flips the genre on its head?
Absolutely. Pun intended.
You know what else flips it on its head? Is Love Eternal from Brika. Joseph.
Perfect. I saw you setting it up.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you started shaking your head as soon as I said it, right?
Yep, I knew it was coming. Love Eternal. What can I say about Love Eternal? I guess I can say it is another weird game. Let's go, everybody. 2 for 2. This game is some strange stuff, I'll tell you that. I played this game at PAX West. I played the demo, and, long story short, you're starting the demo, you're eating dinner with your parents, and then they get like a phone call, and then everything kind of goes black, and all of a sudden your parents are like crawling on the roof like a spider people. I'm like, I don't know, this is scary, what's going on? And then you just kind of end up in this weird like sci-fi dystopian type environment where you're doing like, I don't know, I'm gonna reference Gravity Rush as a person
Gravity
who's never
platforming
played.
is what it's called.
I was going to say, like, I've never played Gravity Rush, but in my head, this is what I imagine it is, where you're just literally switching the gravity on and off. And, like, it makes for some very cool puzzles, but what takes this game to, like, the next level to me is, like, the really cool narrative uh, elements that are sprinkled throughout. Like it is very, I celebrated that it was weird at the top, and it is very much like, okay, I kind of get what's going on here. I kind of see how the puzzles are, but immediately things just like start falling apart, and you're just trying to really grasp, how did you get into the situation? Are you going to get answers? Are there just going to be more questions? I don't know. So this is definitely another one where it's like, okay, I can go in blind and I could just be in for a really cool ride. So highly recommend this one. Like if the demo is anything to go off of, this is going to be like a ride and a half. So I'm very, very excited. And it says it's coming out in 2025. I swear I talked to the developer at PAX West and they were like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like it might be a while. And I was like, all right, sure. So, but hey, 2025 is here. So I'm going to go off of Steam. Can't wait for Love Eternal sometime in this year.
Mm.
That's another banger from Eastbrid Games. They have a killer lineup this year between Demon School, Love Eternal, and another game that we're going to talk about later that I'll save for now. Has anyone else played this one?
I haven't, but I'm so, it looks so good. I feel like I had heard of it, but watching the trailer, because of you, Joseph, just now, I was like, wow, that looks amazing. I played a demo called Tenebris Somnia that kind of reminds me of what I'm seeing in Love Eternal. So I don't know, that might be a good one to put on your radar if it's not, because it's very scary. It has like live action cutscenes that really freaked me
Wait,
out. But
can you say the name one more time?
Tenebris Somnia. Yeah, it's
Okay.
I think there should be a
Weird.
demo up still for it, but it goes back and forth between that like pixel art, and then there are like actual live action cutscenes that are really scary. But you're like, what's
Yo,
going
this
on?
is wild.
Yeah. It's so scary though. Like I'm telling you guys, like be careful when you play it because like you will be scared.
I don't know how you
Nah, I
were
can't
able
do
to play
spooky
that,
games.
Kate, and like I'm so scared. And I'll play Mortuary Assistant, but
It's definitely Emily. I don't want you to play it by yourself. We can get on a
Okay.
call and do it
Okay,
if you
that's
decide to
good.
play.
There is a demo of that one available, Tenebris Somnia, and it's published by New Blood Interactive. They hate money. If you remember their billboard at Summer Game Fest last year, they
Oh,
hate
yeah.
money, but we love their games.
Cool.
I'll tell you right now, I'm
Um,
looking at the clips for this. I'm like, oh hell no, there's
Too
no
scary.
way. Like this is out of pocket.
The trailer is the most I can handle.
It's too scary.
We're gonna have to change your show to 21 games because this is going on the list now. We got a bonus game in here.
Let's do it.
I'm going to walk us through our next game. That's Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, coming from Digital Sun. This is obviously the sequel to Moonlighter. It came out quite some years ago, where it is a combination between you managing a shop and you going and doing top-down dungeons. Between that, they did a League of Legends game. I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
Mage
Was it-
Seeker.
Yes,
Ooh,
Mage
there you
Seeker.
go.
Yes. Back when they were doing like the Riot Forge, like, published games where they gave the IP to an indie dev to do. We liked that game. This game moves to 3D. It takes them out of the world of 2D, moves to 3D, and it just looks real good. Bless you, Joseph.
Bless you.
Thank
I'm
you, thank
excited
you.
for it. Like managing a shop once again, going into these dungeons that look very like Zelda-esque, has got me excited. There's no date on this one. I don't think there's a date on this one, but let's hope well, actually, Steam says coming soon, and then the trailer says coming 2025. So let's hope for 2025. I'm a
Fingers
huge
crossed.
Moonlighter fan. Has anyone here? There's other people that have played the first game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke, you liked it?
Oh, loved it. Yeah, I love a game that can be simultaneously cozy but then engaging in different ways, and I think the layers in that game are really cool. So if in the sequel they could, build on the combat and expand what you can do with your shop, I'm down.
Love it.
Very,
love it.
very
That's-
solid gameplay loop. Like probably one of my favorites of the past, I don't know, decade or so, where you do your little hunting, you do your selling. Great. And it looks like the art style that they're going for in Moonlighter 2 is kind of like a big upgrade. Like they've kind of transitioned it into top-down 3D type art style, which is very, very cool.
Mhm. Again, that one's Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault from Digital Sun. Let's move back to our guests now. Emily, I'd love for you to tell us about Despelote.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to Despelote for a couple of years now. I feel like sometimes a game can ground you so well in its environment that it can actually make you feel nostalgic for a place you've never been to before. And I really think that Despelote is going to have that power. For context, it takes place in Quito, Ecuador in 2001, during the summer when their national team just had this huge amount of momentum, and it built up to eventually them making their first appearance in the World Cup the following year. This has one of the most unique graphical styles, art direction that I've seen recently. Everything for the most part is in this kind of duotone style, and all of the backgrounds and environments I believe are actually based on video or photography of Quito. And then you've got hand-drawn characters in black and white who are kind of superimposed and interacting in this world. So it's a slice of life game you're playing as a kid during this time. I think you spend a lot of the game kicking around a soccer ball and kicking it to people and seeing how they react. And the idea is you just get to kind of immerse yourself in the energy that the city experienced during this time. So I think it's going to have a lot of heart. If you're a soccer fan or honestly just a sports fan, and have felt that strongly for a team, I think you'll know like how powerful that is for individuals and also a whole community. And they also they went and did, I think, their voiceover recording on site in the city, and I think a lot
Cool.
of the folks that they kind of recruited to do this are not necessarily like professional voice actors, so it feels really like raw and genuine. Just from the trailer, I think we're going to feel really immersed in this space, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be really, really powerful.
I can't think of many games that have the same like first person view with that photography but sort of dual tone, and then characters that are almost like hand drawn black and white. It is such a wild and cool combination. And after the fact, I'd love to talk to the devs to find out how they scanned in so much art to this game.
Mm.
Yeah. Considering that you're moving around, like you said, it's first person, you're moving around in what feels like a 3D environment, but it is all based on photography. I would love to know that too, how they actually executed that. And this is in development by Julian Cordero and Sebastián Balbuena. So it's like two people working on this game. I think it's going to be something really special. This could be another potentially like top 10 games of the year. I have a feeling.
You did anyone else? This was at PAX West as well. Luke, Joseph, did you play this one? Because I didn't. I thought it was cool. I was like,
Yeah,
yes, just give me the final game.
Yeah, I did as well. I really loved it. I thought, to your point about just like the authenticity of it, I was really impressed at the way it was paced and the way it had you really like sit in the moment, or in some cases like speed through a like. There's few games that I've never played soccer in a park in this specific area of the world, but it made me feel nostalgic for something that I never experienced, like you mentioned, and it was just a very cool feeling. I was really impressed.
That one again is Despelote, being published by Panic. They've again another killer slate of games from them coming as well. Emily, could you actually say, because you said it so much better than I did there?
Oh, the
Despelote.
Despelote. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, love that. That is a Despelote. Kate, tell us about By Sweet Carole.
Okay, so by Sweet Carole, I don't know that much about it. I feel like I came upon this game during a horror showcase. There are so many showcases now that it's like, when did I find out about that one? But the trailer for this just really struck me. And I think something about, I was actually really scared of animated Disney movies when I was a kid. I just found them super unsettling. And this is in that style of like classic animated films. But apparently it's a narrative horror game. It looks like there's some platformy puzzle elements in it possibly, but this one's just on my list for the vibes. Like, it just looks really unsettling, really intriguing. But apparently you are following the last known whereabouts of Carol Simmons to uncover the dark truth behind the Bunny Hollow orphanage. So just like, I don't know what's going on there, but I gotta find out. And there is a villain in this trailer that just really scared me. It's like an owl bird, and I'm like not scared of birds. I actually think birds are really cool, but this bird really scared me, and I feel like I couldn't sleep after watching this trailer. For some reason, I can play Tenebris Somnia, but I can't. This looks like way too scary for me. So yeah, I really like horror games, but I've never played one in this sort of classic animated style. So I don't know much about the developers. It's developed by Little Sewing Machine. Says it's coming out in 2025, but yeah, I'm new to this dev team and this style of game, but I'm intrigued.
Well, you're new to the dev team because it's their first game ever.
That makes sense.
Wild. And it does look like Disney princesses. Like, oh, a lovely Disney princess. Oh, nope, it's scary. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks so scary. And like the sound effects in this game, like that the scary bird guy makes, I was like, "Oh, I'm there." It's like this like screaming, screeching sound really scared me. So, yeah, I'm stoked to be scared. This one looks really intriguing to me.
Love it. Again, that one's by Sweet Carole, from Little Sewing Machine, published by Maximum Entertainment. Let's now move to my friend Luke to talk about Tenjutsu.
Yeah. So Tenjutsu is a roguelite action game from Deep Night Games, published by Devolver Digital. This is the team. The lead designer is the designer of Dead Cells, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And this is their next project. Very cool art style, very stylized look, going for that Yakuza stylized color vibes, kind of street-ridden or crime-ridden streets, very action-packed combat, really cool look to it. And yeah, I'm not a ton to say on this one, but it just looks really fluid and fun to play, and that's what I look for from a game from the designer of Dead Cells. So I think it'll keep me coming back.
Is this gonna maybe satisfy like a deep dark Sifu hole that you're looking to fill, Luke?
I don't think it's a hole, but I'll take anything that resembles seafood. But this kind of strikes me as like a mix between a Dead Cells meets a Sifu Hotline Miami mashup in terms of the forward motion action based on the trailer, but it looks really, really neat.
And this one, it looks like, in classic roguelite fashion, that you will, choose the, not traditionally like a path that is linear, but like, hey, what syndicates are you actually going to go after first? If you remember like Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars on the PlayStation Portable, that's what I got from that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Deep cut.
There's
deep
layers. I think once we get into this game, it's going to be like, oh, this is what this is. And there's going to be like more to it than we think, but... At the surface level, very
revealed
sold.
On that was a Devolver joint that this thing was revealed on, I think.
I think so. It was their crazy, wild, like art film showcase with the guy in the house and Volvi.
Yeah.
If we all
one of the best
never
ones.
forget, yeah, it'll go down in history as maybe the greatest marketing campaign ever. It's so like...
I'm not gonna lie, I remember very few of the games that were featured in that direct. Every other
but
part
you remember,
of it, I remember,
exactly.
Yeah.
I was visiting Seattle a couple of months back, and I went to Pink Gorilla Games, which is a retro game shop that we're all big fans of here. And the person working behind the counter was wearing a Volvi t-shirt. And I struck up a conversation. I was like, oh my God, I love your shirt. Did you watch the showcase? And then we had like a 5-minute conversation about how wild that event was, which was the great equalizer, Volvi.
Jacob is going
was
to...
it this shirt or
Yeah, it was this shirt. And for context,
Yep.
for Kate and Emily and listeners, we had a bit in our group chat where I think for about 20 minutes, these two had me convinced that Volvi was a really like established character, and I had just missed out on these games and franchises and everything. And I was like, this is a bit, right? And they're like, no. And I was like, I bought it. I was a sucker.
Well, there's lore behind that specific shirt. For a little while on eBay, they were just selling one piece of each of the collection on eBay for way too much money. And I was in a group chat with Mike Towndrow at the time from 61 Indie, and we were like, yo, should we bid on these and buy these? And we did. And like suckers, right after that showcase, they just put them out on their store for way cheaper. So
Tragic.
someday I'm gonna have Devolver sign that. Whoever's at the booth is gonna sign that. But that's the lore behind the Volvi shirt, I guess.
Love it.
That one again, Tenjutsu, by Deep Night Games. Joseph, you're going to talk now about a game that we awarded one of our games of show at PAX West 2024. Tell us about Tears of Metal by Paper Cult.
Yeah, Tears of Metal. As everybody knows who's been listening to this episode, we've been 2 for 2 for weird games, and unfortunately the streak must end. This game is not that weird. Can I get a collective aw? 1, 2, 3. Aw. Yeah. This game is not weird. It is actually kind of normal, but it is pretty kick-ass. So this is basically like Braveheart Dynasty Warriors with some roguelike elements. I mean, that's pretty much it. This game is absolutely sick. To be honest, I don't even quite remember what you're supposed to be doing in the game. I think it's literally like building an army to, usurp the king or take back your land or whatever it is. All I know is the demo I played was absolutely insane. Like, you're calling in volleys of arrows while there's just like absolute mayhem happening on this battlefield. And to this day, I find it very strange that outside of Dynasty Warriors, there haven't been many games that have like attempted that like 3D melee battlefield type feeling. So like jumping into this felt really refreshing and new, even though the concept is like decades old. And I also felt like the gameplay with the roguelike elements really kind of worked well together. Like, I mentioned like the volley of arrows as the ultimate move, but then I also was building up like this fire trail that like left everything burning in my wake, which was really cool. So I'm very curious at like how tuned the game is going to be for like multiple runs and how difficult it'll be and like the boss variation, all that stuff. But I'm totally down for the vibe, and I'm totally down with like the demo I played so far. So I think this is going to be a easy slam dunk. And also I think there's like multiplayer, which is what they mentioned, which we'll see how that goes. I literally, I don't know on the multiplayer front, but I'm excited to see whatever they're cooking up here.
It seems like a really great evolution of their first game, which I believe, Luke, you played Blood Roots, which was their first game.
Yeah, that was actually my first review I ever wrote and published.
Aw.
Yeah, I interviewed the dev at PAX, and he remembered my review, which was really sweet. But this game's rad as hell, and their first game, Blood Roots, was more of like a top-down isometric action game, and then this one is fully 3D, and there's, to Joseph's point, like there's so much happening on screen, so it's really cool to just see on a technical level how the studio has progressed. So fun. Can't wait for it. This was another one that I saw it on Joseph's list, and so I was like, we got it covered. I'll talk about other stuff, but yeah, absolutely cannot wait.
Any other Tears of Metal fans besides me?
No. Not yet.
Well,
future fans.
I'm open to it. Yeah.
Not yet. There you go. Right answer.
Future fans. That one again, Tears of Metal, and that one is slated for 2025. I'm going to talk about my penultimate game here. It is a threequel, I guess, technically. I'm going to talk about Coffee Talk Tokyo by Toge Productions and Chorus Worldwide. It's another Coffee Talk game, although this one it takes place, instead of taking place in the Pacific Northwest, it takes place in Tokyo. There looks to be some connective tissue, but it is very much like make coffee, make tea for folks that come, find out about their lives and their stories. And, there is a bit of a, some narrative paths that you can choose in the game, but I love the first and second game. So if it's just more coffee talk and there's just some, a little bit of connective tissue between the first two games, and then we get a whole bunch of new characters and making some cool warm drinks on a rainy day in Tokyo, just give it to me. Just give it to me. I see a lot of nodding, so I assume I have a lot of Coffee Talk fans here.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, love those
Yeah.
games. And I love like the improvement of making the coffee in the sequel, in the hibiscus and butterfly, just like the more options. So I'm hoping that we get even more coffee options.
We're gonna have stencils, right? I think, which is thank God.
You're right.
'cause
You're
I
totally right.
failed at the
We need
latte
those.
art in the second one.
I feel like when we talked about the second game on the show, we asked the question of how do you take your coffee? So Kate, Emily, I feel like I have to ask, how do you take your coffee?
Emily's answer's so unhinged.
Well, not I actually when I make coffee at home, it's usually like either just black or with like some milk. But I have been known to enjoy a quad shot latte.
And does your heart explode after
I'm
that?
mostly
Or
caffeine. I'm
Kate-
awake at 3:30 in the morning, so I think
I was gonna
that's-
say, I feel like the
Yeah,
time you're recording on
self-evident.
that seems totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kate, do you do quads or are you more
No,
like
I'm not
triples for
that
me?
hardcore. I'm actually, well, I'm hardcore in a different way. I'm an always iced coffee girly, even though I live in frigid temperatures, like live in rural Maine. So, but I have to drink my coffee iced. I'm an iced Americano, splash of oat milk type of gal. So,
Respect
Love it that way. Coffee Talk Tokyo, that one coming. I believe that one is also coming in 2025. Yes, that's the date, 2025 on that one. So somehow we are at our final 4 games, or our final 5 games actually, counting is hard. So let's go again to our friends at No Small Games. And Emily, why don't you tell me about Afterlove EP?
Yeah, actually, strong coffee talk connection there because
Yes.
the original developer creator also worked on the first coffee talk. Afterlove EP by Pixelnesia is being published by Fellow Traveler, who in my opinion, like narratively can do no wrong. So I have really a lot of faith in this game. I think it's going to be a hugely emotional ride. So this is a slice of life game with a strong rhythm game component. It's set in Jakarta, Indonesia, and you play as Rama, who's this young musician who's trying to reconnect with his band and kind of get his act together so that they can perform a gig while he simultaneously struggles to cope with the loss of his girlfriend who passed away, I think, a year prior than when the game starts. The vibes to me, I played the demo, which was featured in one of the 5,000 Steam Next Fests that happened in 2024. And the vibes felt super reminiscent to me of Goodbye Volcano High, which was one of my favorite games from 2023. It's beautifully illustrated. It's got this kind of manga style artwork to it that's just really beautiful and I think both cute and heartfelt. The rhythm gameplay was super satisfying, and I felt like was in that sweet spot of challenging without being utterly frustrating and feeling hopeless. I think similar to Despelote, I just love a game where you can get a sense of the feeling of a city that you've never been to before. And so in addition to these really lovely characters that I think we're going to get to know, it sounds like we'll also just get to know this time and place in Jakarta, which is going to be really interesting. And this game is clearly a labor of love. I think it's going to be even more of a touching experience when you know the backstory of its creator, Fami, who passed away during its development. And the whole thing was kind of carried on by his community and original partner in development. So, yeah, I think it's going to be lovely.
Did you play the first Pixelnesia game? What comes after?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that one also looked like if you see that one and this one together, you're like, yes, I see the connective tissue here. But that one, it's their first game in 5 years, so obviously super excited about it. One of us on this call might be playing it at this moment, and might have more thoughts on a future episode of Crossplay Conversations. So, anyone have any
Luke,
questions?
he's spilling the beans for you, man.
It's not me, in fact. I am excited for this one. It looks like it's gonna rip my heart out in the best way, and I'm ready to go on the journey. I'm also very excited for the rhythm game elements because I liked Goodbye Volcano High quite a bit too. So that tied into the narrative, I think, is always really cool.
And now that Date Everything is no longer coming out on Valentine's Day,
it's not.
We only have Afterlove EP coming out on Valentine's Day.
I missed that. I missed the Date Everything delay.
Yeah, it got pushed to June.
That helps make the decision because it was like oh no, what do I do?
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's also my birthday, so I'm like, do I want to be just like really sad on my birthday?
Or do you want to date everything? No.
A little bit of both, maybe.
Both are good. Yeah.
Any other questions about Afterlove EP?
I think I can safely say at this point, by the time this episode comes out, we are going to be covering this on our spring season of No Small
Hell
Games.
yeah.
So
Awesome.
True.
yeah, we're stoked.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Again, that's Afterlove EP from Pixelnesia. I think if I said that correctly. Kate, your final game today is Music Power Up.
Yeah, Music Power Up by Micro Studio. I've been waiting for this one for a while, it feels like. But in this game, you play as a musician in the 1980s, which that's enough to sell me on the game. But it gets even better because you get to compose tracks for video games, which is actually my dream career. So this is like Kate's dream job simulator. And you do get to actually play the games that you design music for, I think, in this game. So I think that that's really rad. I'm basically just a huge fan of when games give you an opportunity to create something and sort of have ownership over that thing. Some examples: Sticky Business. Like, I'm not a visual artist, but I can create a really awesome sticker. I also love, going back to my Icebreaker game, I love musical sandbox games and being able to create my own audio. And I love this trend I'm seeing of like indie games sort of being digital audio workspaces. This game, Music Power Up, does kind of look like the most traditional audio workspace type of game that I've seen. But yeah, I love Autoda. I loved Incredibox Mixed Universe. So this is just something that I'm looking forward to the most, honestly, because it looks, like I said, just really realistic as a digital audio workspace. But you can compose from scratch in this game, or you can use pre-recorded audio patterns, which I think is a really good call because that invites people into the game who maybe don't have experience or wouldn't consider themselves a musical type of person. But then it also offers like maybe a little bit more for people who do have a little bit of experience. So I don't know. I think, and then with the story too, like you're playing as a composer in the 1980s, I think that there's going to be a lot to offer here. So I've only seen trailers, but I have a lot of hope for this one, and it says 2025 on the Steam page. So yeah, I hope it comes out this year.
Do you think they even had in the 1980s like digital audio workspaces? Did they
That's
have
such a good
Ableton in the
question.
80s? I don't even know.
That's such a good question because there are definitely bips and bops, is what I'm going to call them, little buttons, like you would see on a mixing console in this game. But then when you're actually creating the music, from what I can tell, you're kind of like dragging chunks of audio. So that's a good question. So yeah, I don't know what to expect, but it seems super rad. It seems like there's also several different music making tools in this game. So I hope it's as uh, I guess sandboxy as I'm imagining it to be.
I'm imagining like you use, are they called DAWs, like digital audio
Mm-hmm.
workspaces?
Yep.
Do you think like doing that for play will be also interesting, given that you probably use it like in other parts of your day?
Yeah, because I honestly like feel like I'm always playing, like when I'm designing a show or when like I just view everything as play, just like as a personal philosophy. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be really curious to hear what people think about it who are maybe more shy about creating music, or maybe don't consider themselves a musical person. I'd love to get their take on it eventually when the game comes out.
I need to bring up another bonus pick here. It's one that is centered on music, and I want to know if you've seen Fretless yet.
Oh, I've heard of Fretless, but I have no experience. It's not, is it out?
It is not out. It's another 2025 game. It's from Ritual Studios. They're like former garage band folks, like people who had like a
Yeah.
garage indie band in Chicago, and they're making this music turn-based RPG that feels very much like a Paper Mario or Mario and
Yes.
Luigi game, and it looks rad.
I'm totally, any game that involves music, I'm super down. So I'm going to check that one out for sure.
Love it. Yeah, that one was Fretless by Ritual Studios, but your pick was Music Power Up by
Mhm.
Micro Studio.
Mhm.
Okay, boys, we've got 3 left. I'm going to go back to Joseph. Joseph, you selected another game that we awarded, another game of show at PAX West 2. Tell us about Everdeep Aurora.
Right. But before I do that, I do have another bonus pick.
Oh, hell yeah, let's
now-
go.
Now, actually, this bonus pick is probably not as exciting as some of you may be hoping, but as a true sicko, a true Hollow Knight sicko, I would be remiss if I didn't finally state that 2025 will be the year that Silksong drops. I will play it this year. By the time I am sitting around the Christmas tree with my family and my dog, I will think back and say, wow, what a good game that was when it dropped in the summer. Mark my words, play this clip back. If it doesn't happen, play this clip back next year and make me look like a fool because it's happening. I don't have much else to add to that. Silksong will be amazing.
I'll play
Another
the clip
game.
back to last year's clip.
Thank
being
you.
played back.
We're gonna have to
of
set a
saying the
reminder.
exact same thing.
There's actually no way we'll remember to clip this out. So somebody's gonna have to put a calendar reminder in December.
I'm on it right now. Anyway.
Thank you. Anyways. All right. I think Everdeep Aurora. Did we ever even say the name of the game? It's Everdeep.
I think we
Aurora,
did.
Everybody. I think that this game could potentially qualify as a 3 out of 4 weird game type situation. All right. It's kind of cozy. It's like, pretty cute, but I do indeed think it's pretty weird because you're playing as this little character and she's like, where's my mom? And then also the world's ending. And it's like, oh yeah, we just got to go underground and like get moving because the world's ending, little girl. So it's like, okay, like you're playing the demo and just like, what's happening? It kind of feels like, you know what it feels like? The premise of Spirited Away, where the little girl gets lost and you're just like, okay, like what are we gonna do now? Right? So that's what I'm trying to figure out in Everdeep Aurora. What are we gonna do now? There's a lot of cool little animal anthropomorphic characters that have their own little, I don't know if hobbies is the word, but they have their own little things going on. And you're just digging deeper and deeper and exploring this like very expansive underground living system for these animal creatures. And I think I'm most interested about this because I have no clue where I'll end up like 6, 7, 8 hours into this game. I think that's probably the most interesting part for me. Like all the mechanics seem like they're there. But will this get dark? Will this get weird? Will this get like super cute? I don't know. And I'm about ready to find out. Like I played this demo first, probably like 2, maybe 3 years ago at like a PAX. So it's well overdue that this game comes out and that I put this on my top 10 list of games alongside Tears of Metal, Love Eternal, Morsels, and of course Silksong. So I'm looking forward to it, everybody.
This one has a cool 1x1 aesthetic where the actual game is told in 1x1, like a Game Boy almost, and then you have other elements that are being added on the side. It's like they took SteamWorld Dig. You got the Ghibli in my SteamWorld Dig.
Exactly, yes.
Love it. So excited for this one. Another eSport game that we mentioned earlier, Everdeep Aurora by Nautilus Games. We've got 2 games left here. Luke, your last game is Wanderstop.
Yeah, so Wanderstop has been on my radar for quite a while. I think it was revealed during Summer Games Fest, I want to say last year, or that cluster of showcases, but it's from Ivy Road, published by Annapurna. It's from the creator of The Stanley Parable and The Beginner's Guide, but it's a narrative-focused game, and in it you're running a tea shop, and you're growing ingredients and harvesting things, so there's some farming sim elements, but on top of all of that, because at that base level pitch, I'm like, you have me, I'm in, that sounds great, the pedigree, really cool. There's a certain level of intrigue that I just don't really know where this game's going narratively, but I think it's going to go to some really interesting places. And just that kind of mysterious layer has me really interested to see what comes of this. But in addition to that, just the vibes look really immaculate. I love the color palette, the use of purple hues and this magical world. The music seems really wonderful. It's just a game I want to get lost in, I'd say.
I have to say this was gonna be on my list, but I was like, someone else is gonna do it.
We did it.
We did it. We had our synergy with Keep Driving and Wanderstop. Also, the music. I'm glad you pointed that out because there's one track that's out on Spotify now from the soundtrack, and it's the same. One of the people that worked on the soundtrack for I Was a Teenage Exocolonist wrote the song that's out now. So really, really good stuff.
Because it's C418 that's doing the soundtrack. Am I
Yeah, no, I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Who did the soundtrack for Minecraft and some
other
like very prominent games.
Person?
Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Nice.
I didn't put that together, but that makes a ton of sense. But yeah, the soundtrack definitely strikes me as one I'll like want to listen to outside of the game with headphones on for sure.
Stoked for
Love
that
it.
one.
Very stoked for it. That one's Wanderstop by Ivy Road. My last game is a slow WarioWare. It's a reverse WarioWare. It's While Waiting by Optilusion. And it is exactly that. It is, hey, remember how WarioWare games, they make you play a thing and it lasts 2 to 10 seconds and you usually push one button? Well, what if they're a little bit longer and you push no buttons and you just had to wait? That's the concept of While Waiting. Of course, there are subtasks that you can get where it's like, yes, the core of it, the way you move it forward is you wait and you don't do a thing. But there are also sub goals. I remember when I played it at PAX West, when one of them is like you play a soccer game and you don't move as the goalie, but actually like one of your sub goals is like, hey, actually save some goals. Or what if you kick the ball into the audience? So it's like a real like a checklist game, very much like Goose Game as one example. So I'm mad excited, and it's got a cute little art style to it as well. So stoked for While Waiting. Did Joseph? Did you or Luke play this at West, or did anyone play the demo if there is one online?
I think it was in a Next Fest.
Yeah, I got a chance to play it. Not my cup of tea, but I think it's very funny, and I think for if you want like the short burst experiences, I thought it was pretty clever.
And the best part is we're recording this before it came out, but by the time this comes out, the game will also be out.
Nice.
Is it going to be on mobile by any chance? Do we know?
I feel like I heard that. It was.
Double
I feel
check.
like I heard that it was.
think so.
I thought so.
But-
I
oh,
want
geez,
it
I
on
just
mobile
erased it
because
from
I
the
want to
doc on
play
accident.
while waiting. While
waiting.
While you're
you
waiting
know?
in public spaces.
As they say,
Yeah.
while waiting.
I want to be like getting ready to like show my boarding pass to get on a plane, but waiting.
Waiting.
Yeah.
You get a round of applause for that one. Well done. That's While Waiting. Luke, you're going to look up if it's on mobile while we wrap up here. However, I feel like Kate, Joseph, and myself, we got bonus picks. So I feel like, Luke, Emily, I'm going to give you the chance to throw a bonus pick in here. An unprepared
second.
bonus pick.
An unprepared bonus pick. That's great. Actually, yeah, I have one top of mind that I almost put on there, but Jacob, I think it was one of yours from last year, and it didn't actually come out in 2024.
Oh, hit it.
And I'm hella stoked for this one. This is Henry Halfhead.
Yes.
And this game, actually, I'm a little disappointed in myself for not having weirder picks. So thank you to Joseph for holding up the weird games
Let's
club
go.
here. In Henry Halfhead, you'd think maybe you'd play as like maybe Henry has half a head, but he actually is half a head, specifically the top half of a head. And he sort of plops himself into different objects to possess them. And I think this is going to be a little maybe Goose Game-esque too. You're given a bunch of tasks, you're in kind of a sandbox environment, and you do your thing, whatever Henry's thing is, you go do it, and kind of take control of all of these different objects. I was already super stoked when this got announced at I want to say maybe a Wholesome Direct in
That sounds right.
2023 maybe. But what got me re-energized for this was their segment during the Save and Sound showcase, which happened in November. I think, Kate. Yeah. Which is this 2-day showcase, or I think it was 4 days, but they had 2 days of like, I don't know, 8 hours of streamed like video content, all highlighting music and video games. And the Henry Halfhead performance, they had the folks who actually did the soundtrack. It was an incredible performance. It was such a party, and it had never occurred to me that this game was also going to have such a freaking amazing soundtrack. So I just can't wait.
Love it. Henry Halfhead by Lulu Entertainment. Is that one being co-published by Pop Agenda? Am I incorrect on that one?
I believe so. At the very least, they're supporting on the PR side, but
Love that.
yeah, that
Henry
one looks
Halfhead.
awesome.
Luke, you got a bonus pick before we wrap it up here?
I do. I'm circling real quick back to While Waiting. I can't find confirmation that it's coming to mobile, but I feel like I remember hearing that too. Nothing's listed on the website, but for sure coming to Steam. I'll shout out Mixtape is another one I'm really excited for this year, coming from my favorite studio name of all time, Beethoven and Dinosaur, the team behind The Artful Escape. This another immaculate vibes, really cool music. In terms of style, also reminds me of a Life is Strange coming of age story. The trailer is visually stunning, amazing lighting, and showcases that like carefree vibe they have as a teen in the summer, but looks really really cool. So that one's on my radar. Supposed to come out this year, fingers crossed.
Cool.
There's another
It
Annapurna
appears
game, I think, right?
It is indeed, yeah.
Yep. And I'm gonna say While Waiting looks like it's coming for Android and iOS too. That's what
Okay.
the
See
internet
that,
Did you
says.
find it?
I found a non-shady website that made
Okay.
it look like it may be coming on iOS and Android.
It
so-
should.
That app.
Yeah. Oh wait, but now there's a trailer on YouTube. Okay, but why isn't
They
it
just
listed
uploaded
anywhere
a
else?
trailer.
That's so random. Okay.
Here's
Anyway,
the
I
thing: by the time
digress.
this episode comes out, we will know for sure because it's out on PC.
Yeah,
now.
I'll link it
Um,
if it's real. But
I'll just wait till then.
Love it.
Seems fair, seems
I'm
fair.
just going to recap all the games we talked about today really quickly. Luke, you went through Bionic Bay, Clam Man 2 Headliner, Tenjutsu and Wanderstop, Joseph, Morsels, Love Eternal, Tears of Metal, Everdeep, Aurora. I went through Duck Detective, The Ghost of Glamping, Moonlighter, To the Endless Vault, Coffee Talk Tokyo, and While Waiting, Emily, Heartworm, Usual June, Despelote, and Afterlove EP. And Kate, you covered Constance, Keep Driving, By Sweet Carole, Music Power Up, and our bonus picks, Tenebris
Somnia.
Tenebris Somnia, Fretless, the Wrath of Riffson, Hollow Knight Silksong, I guess for SEO purposes only, Henry Halfhead, and Mixtape were those ones. Y'all, that is a hell of a list of 25 indie games that I hope we get all of in 2025. With that, Emily, Kate, thank you so much for coming on today. What I'd love for you to do is tell folks about your very good podcast and where folks can find you on the internet.
Absolutely. So, No Small Games is an indie game podcast. We publish episodes bi-weekly. Most of our episodes are deep dive reviews into indie games of all kinds. We try to cover the whole breadth of genres represented in the indie world. We also have amazing guests who come on, and we go really deep. We love a narrative game. But yeah, and then we've also started, as of mid-year last year, another monthly episode series. Kate, would you like to talk about our indie game roundups?
Yeah, so we also do indie game roundups. Those episodes come out on the last day of every single month, where we kind of talk about other games that we've been playing, because as we all know, there are way too many games to only cover 5 indie games per season of the year. So the indie game roundups are our chance to sort of surprise each other with games that we've been playing, or talk about games that we've been streaming on Twitch, or even just like games that we've gotten codes for and are checking out, but we don't have time to devote a whole episode to. So yeah, those are really fun. We cover Steam Next Fest a lot in the indie game roundups as well, or Summer Games Fest showcases the lot of things. So yeah, those are great. And then you can also visit nosmallgames.com, where we have articles, lists about anticipated indie games. Emily writes reviews on our website as well. And yeah, we're just two gals we met on Twitch in 2021, and now we love indie games and we have fun doing No Small Games together.
That's awesome.
Genuinely, for folks who are listening to this show, it is wild how like our shows are just like similar in a lot of ways. So if you're listening to Crossplay Conversations and you have made it this far and you have not hit subscribe or follow or however you digest your podcast for No Small Games, please do that because it's going to feel real cozy for you. So y'all, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I think you're going to be at PAX East, both of you. So we're really
Yes,
excited
we will.
to meet in
Awesome.
real life.
Hell yeah.
And obviously the list we came together with on today is wild. So thank you for your time.
Thank
Please check out
you.
No Small Games.
Yeah.
And where can folks find you individually on BlueSky?
Oh yeah, I'm a specific egg on BlueSky and a lot of other places.
I'm Cater Blossom pretty much everywhere. So, and also thank you all for having us. This was really fun, and we love your show. So this was
Yeah.
just great to be able to get to know you a little bit better. So we appreciate the invite.
Love it. Of course. So happy to have you today. Well, that's the end of our show. We are going to set our status to away until next time. But until then, you can do 3 things for us. Give us a follow on BlueSky. Just search up Crossplay Conversations and you'll find us there. Send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about new podcasts, and give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice because genuinely it really helps. So give one to us and then go check out No Small Games and then give them a review too because genuinely really helps. That's our show for today, and with that, go have some healthcare. Sorry, my Canada.
I would
my
love
He's
to.
Canada
making fun
show.
of us. He's making fun of
Do you
us.
have
Yeah.
some? Can I? No.
Go have some self-care and play an indie game. Bye, everyone.